be aware of where you are, take the risks, and get started. Interestingly, it was also 12 o'clock on an ordinary day when this clock stopped more than 20 years ago. Today, you'll discover with me what used to be the home of a great entrepreneur of the time. Downstairs, they ran their entire business, like this pharmacy overflowing with toys from the 1960s. They also ran a pharmacy that's still completely intact today. It's striking to see so many medicinal jars with the containers still waiting to be used. And that's not all. Upstairs, next to the living quarters, we also find the consultation room. How about we start there? Welcome to the time machine. You'll notice in this video that I'm going to be speaking pretty softly and that I have to clear my throat a lot because I'm losing my voice. I've come to an area where my allergies are really bad because of all the plants, and my voice keeps cutting out, so it's gonna be a bit tough for me to tell you everything I see, but I'll do my best. Honestly, I don't know much about the history of this house either. I know that downstairs there's a pharmacy, and right now I'm in the living quarters where the pharmacist lived, along with another family next door who I guess could have been his children, or, well, we'll see as we go along. I'll be able to tell the story much better with a voiceover. Now, let's begin this journey back in time. As I mentioned, I'm on the first floor, which used to be the pharmacist's home, and I wanted to start the video here, in this bedroom, which is where the pharmacist and his wife used to sleep. And I want you to see the decay and the passage of time, how they're so evident in this room. Sometimes to truly appreciate the absolute beauty of an abandoned place, all you have to do is turn off the light. It's crazy. The floors are pretty dangerous. You have to be really careful. And well, you can see everything they had in this room, the wardrobe, and here they left a really old iron. I'm not sure about this house, I think. I'll tell you everything much better in the voiceover. So forgive me if I make a mistake now and don't give the exact dates, but I think it dates back to the 19th century, more or less. We can say it might be from the 1800s, although later on it was definitely renovated, like for example this part is pretty new. I can't really correct much more since there's absolutely no information about this place, but we did find out that it was abandoned between 1999 and 2000, and that the house was originally built in the early 1900s. The main entrance where the stairs were had the store downstairs, and upstairs there was another living space, or more than a living space, it might have been used for storage. I've drawn up some floor plans that I'll show you later to help you get a sense of where we are. Here, they would go up, enter this kind of living space, and from here go to the other one. Let's take a look at this one since both are actually connected. That's why I say they were probably family, even if they lived in separate homes. And look, here they had the dining room with the hole for the brazier because, as you know, in this house, dating back to around 1800, there was no heating. Look how beautiful it is! There are charming little corners everywhere. Here in the children's room, but we'll go in there in a moment. As I was saying, there's no heating anywhere in the house, and that's why they used these tables with that little hole, that space meant for the brazier. They'd put a tablecloth over it and stay warm with the brazier and burning coal inside. It was a way to keep warm while they ate, because these stone houses were really, really, really cold. If we go this way, we find what looks like a little waiting room or something like that. The door still has the little curtains to separate it, and this kind of sitting area connected to the other house. Look, here we have the other door. It was pretty big, if you notice. So this would close like this, one side and then the other, and that's how they kept the houses separated. It's interesting that there's this sort of waiting room here. Who knows, maybe they also saw some patients here at home. Back in the day, there weren't doctors in every village, so besides being a pharmacist, they also knew about medicine. Honestly, sometimes I scare myself with my guesses, not even knowing what was actually said. Later on, you'll see that I was right. That waiting room was for the consultation in the other house. My brother probably remembers. He's older than me, and he had them when he was little. I know because I've seen photos of his room when he was a baby. In fact, I hope I'm not wrong, but I think I remember seeing Pluto in his room in some photo I've seen. And it's really interesting to see it here now in a room because, like I said, the decor looks like it's from around 1980. With those pictures. Alright, I'm not going to focus too much or move around a lot because the floor is really slanted, so I'll just stay here. And, well, this is the atmosphere you feel here. All the rooms have curtains, and the ceiling is pretty dangerous, and here they have the same curtains as over there. Visiting these places makes everyday life disappear for a few moments when the camera, the abandonment, and I become one. And zooming in on the paintings they have here, this one is by Dali, and it looks like a religious image, kind of like the Last Supper, but with a lot fewer people, so I'm not really sure. Check out how beautiful the almost transparent figure is at the very top, and then on either side there are two more paintings as well. And down below, well, there's the couch and this table that looks like it might be marble. I'm not sure. Let's keep going with the house. Leaving the bedroom aside, and with the stairs going up right here, let's head to the back on the left, and there's another kind of room, okay? It's really wrecked. Really, really wrecked. And what you see at the end is like a super, super rundown living room. I think we'll skip this one because I believe it used to be the kitchen, judging by the type of tiles in the back and the little table, etc. Anyway, let's focus on this hallway and head over there. Just look at how run down that scene is. I think the atmosphere in this little living room is just wonderful. It's super pretty and really bright. You already know I have a thing for light. I love it. Oh, look at the back of the kitchen. Wow, seriously, what a wonder. It's so beautiful. Honestly, these rooms just, wow. I think it's crazy. A lot of times it's really hard for us to find the true story of a place, but thanks to everything an abandoned place lets us see, we can draw a lot of conclusions, and sometimes that's even more satisfying than finding the story clearly told. In this house, the couple who opened the business grow old, the same ones who eventually had to close it down. Alright, and going back the way we came, in this hallway to your left was... Be really careful because look, the kitchen floor is kind of floating and the whole ceiling has collapsed. Well, there's a door right here behind me. Let's move it carefully. Oh, okay. And look at the way it is. It leads into the kitchen. I'm gonna peek in a little carefully. Damn, I don't know what's... Look, here's the French. This is the kitchen from another angle. But I'm telling you, I'm not going in there because the floor is pretty... Oh man, I almost hit my head. Look, we're shaking out the beds. We use this to shake out sheets and beds, etc. I'm leaving this area because it's pretty tricky. And now let's head over to the other house. They separated it back in the day with this more modern thing. Look at the stairs going down. They have them there in their corners like flowers. And they go down to what used to be the pharmacy, the shop where the man who lived here sold his stories and medicines that he created himself. You'll see, because it even has a laboratory. It's crazy. And look, this is the other house. This one is much more dangerous. You have to be really careful because the floor is very slanted. Look how crazy this is. Look at the ceiling. And here they had a desk. I think maybe the two houses belonged to brothers, and both of them worked from their own homes, making new formulas and so on. Because this is like a desk for... I don't know, or maybe even a counter, it seems. Like the chair was right there. And here they would help people, I don't know, maybe they did more work in their homes, not just downstairs. That's the feeling I get. I don't really know. And what's interesting are the prints here, because they're all like tiny little handprints, or maybe from a dog. They're not bad. Yeah, these look like they're from a dog or even a cat. If you notice, they're kitten paw prints. Look at these two. Like when they stretch out from there. How curious. Yeah, they're all kitten prints. This one is especially symbolic. You can tell it's stretching. Like when they get up on the walls and stretch. Taylor does that all the time. There it is. There have been kittens here. They've been stretching and left their prints. Check out how this room looks. Like I said, it's kind of like a little office. It leads to what I told you before was the other part of the house, which had something like a waiting room. Now, I get that the waiting room we saw earlier was really for coming in here, and this is where the office was, where they might see people and figure out what was wrong with them, maybe. And then the other door led to the more private part of the house. Maybe this was the work area, and that was the pharmacist's living quarters. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, you know? And here is where people were seen, where they'd talk about what was wrong and what could be given to them and so on. I'm gonna get closer to see what this is over here, really carefully, because I'm not sure what it is. It's like a hat, dude. It's that... a fisherman's cap? A fisherman's cap. Seville, 16th of NN. It says between Madrid. It's something to do with a fisherman. I'm not really sure what, but it's definitely something for a fisherman, that's for sure. Notebook. We've discovered that this is where people would come if they had some ailment and wanted to be seen by the doctor. But where was the little consultation room? You'll see it now. Okay, turning around and knowing that this is where I came in, and that behind me is the little office where they saw people. Here, they probably had a kind of study room, because there were tons of books everywhere. Look, for example, just look at the floor. See how it is? Besides, it rained recently, and that's when it's most dangerous. So they had a bunch of books here. I don't know, maybe medical studies or something, and, well, let's be really careful. At the end over there, where I am, there's a huge mirror that we're gonna check out. That's beautiful, man. November 1963, and it says Tetra Balsamic Lung. So all of this was about... Wow, that's amazing! These are super old medicines, and here they talked about bronchopulmonary conditions. Tetralung, it's wild. I don't even know. I'm sure if you spent the whole day here, you could find tons and tons of information about medicine that isn't even used anymore. Look, the floor is covered with stuff. Like, for example, here, I don't even know what this is. Beauty or something? Okay, this is a tobacco tin lid? I don't know, there are so many things and so many envelopes around here, and they're all tied up with string? Like, everything was meant to be kept safe so it wouldn't get lost. And look at how it is now. Up there, there are more packages tied with string and all the letters stored away. More books from 1944. Even over there, I can see 1944. And then here, we've got a little Kodak booklet. Kodak, right. This is where they used to keep photographs back in the day. You can see it's shaped to hold photos. And look, nobody even uses this anymore. Well, there are still a few left, but check it out. The paper is yellow from how old it is. That's so cool. And here, La Phalange, Catalonia, a book. All Alright, so here's the other room, which isn't a bedroom either, if you notice. That's why I'm here now. Oh yeah, there's a little bed over there. But like I was saying, it really looks like, if you notice, there's no separation. Like this was meant for taking care of patients, because it's right in the little office area, the study zone. So maybe they took care of patients at home. It's all full of trunks that must have been packed with stuff. Actually, this looks like clothing that's been painted or has blood on it. But if you look closer, it's more like paint. It's not stained. I think it's just paint. They must have painted this. It was probably some kind of sign or something. Yeah, it's hard. Plus, what was in this trunk looked like costumes or something. I don't really know. Well, here are more books, dictionaries. Wow, this book is super old, and there are more sheets. Honestly, I really do think that this part of the house, which isn't so much a house, was actually used to take care of patients. That's why they had the little bed and more trunks, because they would have stored a lot of things and documents and information about medicine. Look, the little bed is actually small. It's meant to be like this. They could even experiment, give the patients medicines they made themselves to see how they worked. And that's probably why they had these screens here too. Imagine if it was something contagious. They would have had glass here so they could keep the patients separated but still keep an eye on them. Otherwise, tell me, what would be the point of this partition? Of course, there's no glass now, but back in the day, there would have been a glass wall. I don't know, that's just what I think. And there isn't another door, because this is just a door that's loose, that they just put. Honestly, the best explanation is that it was to keep an eye on the patient without having any contact with them. In the back, there's the little office where they used to come in. Now we're going to show a shot of the waiting room and how people would come in here to ask for information, to explain what was wrong with them, what they needed to do, and whether they had to stay overnight in the room they have set aside for patients over there. For people who had some kind of condition, who would come and stay here. In the waiting room, where there were probably more chairs, and they would wait here to be seen. Notice that it's a really tiny space, and it's closed off so that people wouldn't disturb the private living area of the doctor, which leads into the little living room I mentioned, and then the rest of the house with more character. The child's bedroom, and, well, with their paintings and so on. So, look, we've finished the first floor, really understanding what it was, and here, completely separate, is the most private room where the doctor slept with his wife. Honestly, I love being able to understand everything in the end and come to the conclusion, which I think is absolutely right, that the doctor lived on this floor, that this was his entire home. The whole house belonged to him. But since he used this floor to receive patients and even admit them into his own home, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, let me show you what was on the top floor. Is it just me, or is this exactly what it looks like? Another waiting room. And next to it, a room that seemed to be used for storage. Let's head downstairs, because now comes the most interesting part, the laboratory and the shop where he sold his products without having to go upstairs. Up here, you'll also see there's a little toy shop. So it's clear he loved kids too, and wanted to keep them happy. You'll see in the next video, we'll get to know the business that supported this family. A pharmacy with a laboratory where they made their own medicines. It's fascinating to see how this laboratory has remained intact to this day, like a time capsule. And check out how in this jar, up at the top, some kind of super weird fungus has grown because of the chemical inside. You can see the liquid all the way up to the top. They've even preserved the medicine capsules in the little box with cotton to keep out moisture. And for me, it's a real privilege to be able to share something frozen in time like this with all of you. Hang in there, because the wait will be worth it. See you in the next video.